Okay, so this was practice paper A. Practice paper A. Pegasus gave us this. So basically the first thing I would do is, if I'm getting a paper, is to understand what the formula lists are telling me. So whenever you're going to get a question where they ask you to find the roots of a quadratic, given your answer to a certain number of decimal places, so this is the formula that you need to use. Sine rule is another rule that we've noticed that maybe we might be able to use, or we may need to use, depending on what you're looking for. So usually you get two sides and an angle to find an angle, or two angle and a side to find a side. That's how it works. Two angle and a side to find a side, or two side and an angle to find an angle. Now, cosine rule, the rule that I put with cosine rule, if I've got the two sides and the associated angle, that's usually when I'm going to use the cosine rule. So if I'm looking,
so if I'm three sides and a missing angle.
Yep. So if you've got three sides as well, so for this you use the second formula. So you've got side A, side B, side C. So you've got all three sides, and you're looking for an angle, you use cosine rule. Okay, but if I've got two sides and an angle, so this is basically what it is here: B, C, and the angle to find A, or I've got B, C, A, and I'm looking for the angle. Now, if you've got a question where calculate the area of this triangle, you don't go any further than area of a triangle. Now, the last here tells you everything. Calculate the volume of a sphere, calculate the volume of a cone. By the way, you could be asked to calculate the volume of a hemisphere. It's just half the sphere. Okay, so if you're asked to find a hemisphere, you just take that and you just half it. So it's half time 4/3 pi r cubed. Volume of a cone, use this formula. If it's a pyramid, you use this formula. Area is A and H is the height of your pyramid.
What's a cylinder again, Adrian? I know you just mentioned it earlier on, but that's something that I remember from the unit.
So if you've got cylinder, you do area first, so pi r square. So you calculate pi r square, it's your area, and you time it by the height of your cylinder.
Pi r squared.
Adrian, sorry to interrupt you. Sophie's just put on the group chat that her internet's completely cut out, so she's just going to watch the recording.
Okay, so who was that? Sorry. Sophie, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm recording it anyway. So all
yeah, she said she's going to cut the recording.
Yeah, no worries. So if you've got a volume of a cylinder, you'll either get the diameter or the radius. So if you get the diameter, you half it to get your radius, yeah? So that's another thing that you need to know, that D equal to R. And to calculate the volume, you just do time the height. You may be asked to look at the volume in milliliters. So you just remember 1 centimeter cube is just 1 milliliter. Okay, and to make 1 liter, you need 1000 milliliter. Okay, so A means area. So basically, if you've got a square base for your pyramid, so I'm struggling to draw a pyramid here, but you may be told that you've got a square base pyramid. So that's the area of your square. So what they do is they'll give you a side, and to calculate the area of a square, you just do the side time by itself. That'll give you the area, and they'll give you the height of your pyramid. Okay. So basically, these are the things that might pop up. Or the other thing they could do is they can give you the volume and give you R and ask you to find H, for example. You need to rearrange the subject, changing the subject. So they can mix a couple of questions like that, where they'll tell you, get the volume of a cone, you know you need to go through your formula. Or the other thing I've seen is like a cone and a hemisphere, for example, and they ask you to calculate the volume. So you need to calculate two volumes here, the hemisphere first and then the cone, and then you add them up.
I've seen that before, and it's
Yeah, I've seen that in a
something
past
about those
paper.
problems.
Yeah.
Some questions that just give me nightmares. But
So it comes as a wee toy, for example, they'll tell you this toy has been made, or
like a mirror.
it could be, yeah, someone want to design in gold,
Yeah.
something of that shape, you know, calculate the volume, yeah, for one, for example. Now, standard deviation is what we've looked at when we were doing statistics, remember? So X, you put your X value in one table, then X minus X bar in another column. And then the last one is X minus X bar square. And if you fill that table, at least you get your first mark. And remember, a quick way to check that you are on the right path is add all your deviations, you know, the second column. If you add it and you get a 0, you can carry on. That means you're on the right path there. But you need to remember that X bar, you add them all up. So it's sigma, sum of all your X's, and you divide by N. Okay, things to remember that, how to do the table, and that should give you an easy 5 or 6 marks usually. And that's why I said to folks, you know, do a quick check as you do them, because they're worth a lot of marks, especially if you spend some time doing it. Okay, so that summarizes basically your formula sheet, your formula list, but it's good to know what you've got there, because remember, it's going to be on your first page, and by the time you turn, people get, I wouldn't say lazy, but they forget that they've got that on hand. Okay, so it's good to know roughly what you've got. You know, print one paper with you, write on it every time you do questions. So let's see how you would work with these kind of practical or practice paper. So what I'm going to say first is try and do them without looking at the answers first, because each practical paper you will see after when you get to end of questions, like the last question, end of question paper, the next page would give you how it's marked, right? Someone asked me, do you have the answers for this? It's within the same paper. Okay, so for every paper, you look at this question, for example, if it says 3 marks, whenever you get a dot, that's how they allocate the marks. So for me to give you the first mark, I would need to be able to see that you've managed to get a 1/20, and I'll show you how to get that. I need to see that you've got 20/3 times 1/20, and the last one, your answer would be 1/3.
Right.
And then they give us a wee help here, give 1 mark if they've evaluated the brackets, if they know how to complete the calculation, if they've completed the calculation. So let's have a look for this one, and I'll show you how the marks are allocated for that one, okay? So the first thing first, you've got this question. Evaluate, again, so these are the wee things that whenever you see evaluate, find the value of. So you need to get a value at the end of this. Okay, so if you come up and you didn't get a final value, then somewhere you're not going to get all the marks. Okay, so let's see. First thing, when I get something like this, I'm thinking
What paper?
odd mass. What do I need to do first?
Brackets first.
Brackets. You see that where we saw that first one? It's what's in the brackets. So if I see through your work, you've done the one, you know, you've got the brackets done, I'll allocate the mark for that. And for the brackets, remember what we said? You can cross and smile. An easy way to do this. So you do 4 times 4 is 16 minus 5 times 3. So 16 minus 15
1.
is 1 divided by 5 times 4.
20.
20. And if you remember, there was that mark where it says 1 mark if they've done this. So let's see the way I would do it. The way I would do it, I would get rid of the mixed fraction. You can do it that way as well. So to get rid of the mixed fraction, this is what you need to do. You need to do 3 times 6 plus 2, because it's 6 and 2/3. Okay, so it's 3 times 6, which is 18, plus 2, that's 20 over 3, time 4 times 4 minus 5 times 3 divided by 5 times 4. So this is me showing my working. I'm saying I'm using cross and smile. Okay, and you see that of BODMAS, when we said BODMAS, that's what ofs mean, is that of after the brackets, you do that of thing, which is a time. So of just means time. Bracket first, then we will do the multiplication after. So to get the second mark, you write 20 over 3 times 1 over 20.
Yep.
So mark 1 is that 1 over 20. Mark 2, that 20 over 3. And obviously I've changed it off with a time. Now, how do I get my last mark? You've got 20 times 1 divided by 3 times 20. You know how to time two fractions. And when we do that, you can simplify because you've got a 20 at the top and a 20 at the bottom.
Yep.
So what did we say when you've got 20 at the top and 20 at the bottom? Boom,
Cancel it.
you cancel each other. And that's you. So you're allowed to do this on your paper. And your third mark would be your final answer, 1/3.
You know,
So
I
I've got-
did actually lost the last mark because I just got to 20 over 60 when I did it, and then I halved it, and I halved it again. I got 5 over 15, and I forgot that I could just bring it down even further. So I would have lost 1
Yeah.
mark for that because it's
So-
that just irritates me beyond belief. That,
Yeah,
you
so-
know, I didn't bring it
yeah.
down.
It's very easily done. So 20 over 60.
2 over 60 and 10 over 30.
So the
And
first
then
thing I
half
would
again.
do, the first
I
thing I
just
would
keep
do
halving
is,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
Be the
But-
zeros.
but look how quickly. I know it's easy to half, but look, it's even easier to divide by 10.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 over 6, and now you've only got to half
Yeah,
the top
very good.
and half the bottom.
I
So,
think I did enough coffee then at that point, but
Yeah.
today.
but you're right, if you go 10 over 30,
Yeah.
and then you're right, you could just say, oh, 5 over 15, that's me done. But they're both in the 5 time table
No,
because they end up with 5 or 0. Yeah, so, but I can see how you would lose the mark because you're expected to give your answer into its simplest form, basically.
Mhm.
Okay. And that is part of the marking instruction that is given to us. So you could argue that, but 5 over 15 is the same as a third. But whoever's marking you go through the marking instruction, and it's been said right at the start, you know, anything to do with fractions needs to be given in their simplest form. Otherwise, you don't allocate that final mark.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how you would get 3 marks for a question like that. Now, how do we find the equation of the line? So again, this is 3 marks. How do I get my 3 marks? First thing first, I'm going to write this as I want to. You've got more than one way of doing it, but because I can see I've got an intercept, if I just find the gradient, then I can just write this. This is going to be y equal mx plus c for me. Okay, so I know that m is my gradient and c is my intercept. So, and usually to get m, this is where I need to find my gradient. We said it was y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So two things you can say, okay, how do I get my y to y1? This is when x equals 0. So I've got my point 0.07 here. You can say this is x1, y1. And this is y equals 0, but x equals 4. So I've got 4 and 0. That's going to be my x2, y2. And then you can go, I've got everything I need. 0 minus 7 divided by x2, which is 4 minus 0. And that is just negative 7 over 4. Mark number 1. Yeah?
Yep, I got that.
So M is your first mark.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could have argued that, but some remember that a gradient is how much have I got in y displacement over how much have I got against x displacement. So I've got here 4 and
Yeah.
I've got 7. And I'm going down by 7. So that's
So
negative
negative.
7.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I'm going across by 4. Because you're going down, your gradient is negative. So by just writing this and by showing this like this, you would still get the mark because you found the gradient
Alright.
without having to do x1, y1. Say you get a
Alright.
blank that day. So a gradient is just an a y displacement over an x displacement. Okay. So now that I've got that, how do I find c? We've always said that c is when x equals 0.
Mm-hmm.
So when x equals 0,
It's 7.
yeah,
C7.
I've got y equals c, which is 7. So c is 7. So that'd be your second mark. So I better put it back in blue in case you think. So c equals 7 is your second mark. So I've seen people even going like this is c equals 7. Close to it. So you get your second mark. Now you've got everything you need, m and c. Just writing the third mark would be writing negative 7 over 4 x plus 7 is your third mark. So everywhere you see a tick, that's how your teacher will mark it. Those are your marks, 1,
I
2, and
formed it
3.
a wee bit differently. I did y equals minus 7 over 4 brackets x minus 4. I took out an a and a b. I went the other.
All
I
right.
used the other equation.
So you could do it that way. It's just
Yeah.
going to be a bit longer.
Yeah.
So you're right. Some students just remember the y minus b equal m x minus a. It just means you need to pick a b and an a.
Yeah.
So to make it easier, you can make b 0, right? So it's this one here.
Yep.
So you can say this is a and this is b. So that means you've got y equal negative 7 over 4
Yep.
times x minus 4. Yeah.
Yep.
But then you need now not
Deal
only,
with negatives.
yeah, you need to now expand it. So negative 7 over 4x. And then you need to do negative 7 over times negative 4. So someone might forget that is positive. So you get more chance to make a mistake there. And 7 times 4 divided by 4, you need to simplify that as 7. So you can see you will get the answer, but you've got more chance to make a mistake.
Yeah, I think
You
I
just-
tripped up. I brought the 4 across to 4y. I did it wrong, and then brought the 4 across to 28 and divided it there, and left me with y equals 7x plus 7. But
yeah, so you would
Equal.
miss the last mark
yeah,
basically.
I just, yeah.
See, we have fraction there. That's -7/4, isn't it? It's not like minus and then the fraction 7/4. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you
-7/4.
yeah, you put the minus in front of the fraction.
Yeah.
In front of the whole fraction.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, that's fine. That's what's up.
It's just the way I've been writing it, but yeah.
No, I didn't.
I try, yeah. Try to be as neat as possible. But sometimes, yeah, you're right. That should be a minus rather than a wee tilde. Okay, so 3 marks for this and 3 marks for the other one. Another
Yeah.
question with 3 marks. Change the subject of the formula to T. So there's two ways, two schools. Sometimes people say, oh, you want all the thing with the T on the left-hand side, if you want to, or you can just leave it the way it is and get rid of everything that is around T, basically. Okay, so to get the first mark, you would need to get rid of the 2u first. So you need to take away 2u. So that'd be minus 2u on that side, but you need to do minus 2u on that side. And that would get rid of your 2u. And that way you get v minus 2u equals 3t squared. So that's your first mark. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now the next thing is I want to get rid of a multiply by 3. What's the opposite of timing by 3?
Dividing it by 3.
Divide by 3. So what you do on the right side, you do the same on the left side, but you divide the whole thing by 3. To divide the whole thing, you need to put the bar all across both of them, divide by 3.
Yep.
So then you take rid of those 3 and 3, and that's your second mark. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, what's the opposite of square?
Square.
Yeah, it's to
Root,
take the
yeah.
square root. So then your last mark would be square root of v minus 2u over 3
Equals to T.
equal your t.
I got 3 marks for that. That's not bad. Take
So
that.
3 marks. So at least you should be getting 2 marks. I can say, okay, the last one, oh, I forgot that you need to take the square root. But at least you should be getting 2 marks. But what we find is people would put the common mistake here is someone putting v over 3 and then they forget the 2u. They just say minus 2u equal t squared. So they lose that second mark. So on the marking, you will see something like this. But then they still get a second mark because then they go, oh, my final answer is square root of v over 3 minus 2u equal t. So now the way your teacher will mark this is, this is correct, but because it's based on an error. So that whenever you're going to see a tick with a wee bar next to it, or they call it tick 1, you still get the mark for it. So you can still get 2 marks out of 3, even by making a small mistake in between. Okay.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah.
Okay, so next question. Factorize. Whenever you see this, 2 marks, so there's 2 lines of working. So the first one, the common factor.
5.
Ended with 5, 5. Yeah, so the first mark, you would say this is 5, open bracket, x squared minus 9. So that's your first mark. Now here we have a difference of 2 square. To get your second mark, you need to write this is equal to x plus a number and x minus a number, or x minus a number and x plus a number. But
Would you lose the mark if you didn't have 5 at the front?
at the end, yeah, if you don't put the 5, that doesn't equal to that.
So,
Yeah, do you remember it's only 2 marks? So in order for you to get a full mark is you need to write
just
down
dive.
exactly.
I know it in my head. I know it's a difference of 2 squares. I know. I just dive in and just answer it, but I know I need to have the 5 to complement it. And
Yeah. So if you were to miss the 5, the way the teacher would mark it, it would put what we call an omission. So you will see it on your paper marked like this. So you'll have something omitted.
Will we get our papers back?
So if
not
if you
yours, Chris.
discuss, yeah, no, if you discuss some of the mark, you will be able to. The problem is, remember, these are SQA papers, so
I know, that's what I
the
was
only
thinking.
way I would need, so we're not allowed to take a picture, a copy, or scan
Oh,
or
right.
anything,
Yeah.
because it's to do with. But you can have a Zoom meeting with me, for example, and then I can discuss with you and
Okay.
say on this one, or you may say, oh, how come I only got that mark? So if you miss the 5, you'll see an omission mark.
Mhm.
If you make a mistake and then you still get the work incorrect, you'll have a tick with a bar. But if it's a complete, if you've not answered the question, but you're doing some other things, you see double mark like this. And if it's completely wrong, you'll see the teacher putting an X. Whenever you're going to see X, it's completely wrong. Okay. Let's say someone asked me to do 5x minus 45, and I start to say, okay, what can I do here? What if I do 5x squared equal 45? That's not the question I've been asked, but that's not wrong in a way, because you could say, oh, this was, you're answering the question as if this was equal to 0. So you'll get a tick with double, a tick 2, it's called. Basically, you're answering a question that's nothing to do with what you've been asked to do. Okay, because I've seen that. Someone said, oh, that's x squared equal now 45 divided by 5. And they go, oh, that's 9. Oh, that means x equal 3. So they've done a bit of work, but it's got nothing to do with factorizing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll see these tick double mark, just to say that's not the question asked. Okay. So on the next one, 2 marks. 2 marks only. Wow. I would give 3 for that, because that's not straightforward. But it's a lot of done to do with, people do this question with trial and error. Whereas the way I would do it, I would say to my student, you need to use MAM. Okay. So I'm looking for A and B, such that when you do A times B, you get 6 times 20, which is 120.
And then also adds to minus 7.
And if I add the 2 numbers, I get -7, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So I need to find 2 numbers. So 120, I can say, what's that? 60 and 2. That's not going to get me any close. Then you can say
40 and 30.
Sorry?
4 and 3.
So 120 divided by 3, that would be 40. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can say 40 and 3. But I'm still not close to 7.
Yeah.
So what I need to do is I need to take some from 20 and put them onto the 3, right? So if I do 20 and 6, so we tried that wasn't working. So what if we try, for example, what would be the next one? I can divide by 4, yeah?
Yeah.
So what's 120 divided by 4?
30.
30.
Yeah.
Times 4. And now I can double this, that'd be 8. But if I double this, I need to halve this. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
And now I've got here, if I def them too, I will get -7.
Yeah, if you done -15.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got my 2 numbers. It's -15 and 8 for A plus B. So remember what we said, that -7x you need to replace it with negative. So let's say 6x squared. Now we've got 6x squared, negative 15x plus 8x minus 20. And now we can factorize. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I can do 3 times, so 3x times 2x. And what's 3x
Times 5.
5.
minus 5? Yeah.
Sorry, I shouted that really loud there. 5.
Okay.
5.
So now I can factorize, and on the other side, hopefully, I will get the same thing, something times 2x minus 5.
4x minus 5. 2x minus 5. And then you've got the 4 at front.
So the 4 in front, and that's you.
It's
So that'd be
3x.
your first mark. First mark to write this. And then your second mark, now you can just factorize by using 2x minus 5 or 3x plus 4. It's up to you, whatever way. So you've got 2x minus 5 times 3x plus 4. Okay, that gives you your fully factorized and you're working. And the only difficult part here was to find A and B. Yeah,
Mhm.
but we had to try a few till we got it. So by the 7, we knew if you had a big number on one side and a small, it's going to be hard to get a 7 in between. So you just keep going, keep going. And if you get 2 numbers and you can start doubling one, you need to halve the other one to still get the same answers. Yeah. So this was a tricky one. I've not seen that many difficult factorizing like that, but MAM would solve you, right?
Mhm.
So we're not doing vectors, so you can ignore that for the moment. We're going to look at the next one. Yeah, so we'll finish with that one today. Like I said, if you go to there's a paper there in between. Yeah, so if you scroll down on your PDF file, it will tell you how the marks were allocated. But if I've got here to solve what we call simultaneous equations, this is how you process with this. You try to make them x and y on one side and x and y on the other side as well. So you would rewrite this as 8x plus 3y equals 0. In this case here, because I'm going to move the negative 3x on that side, you need to add 3x on both sides. So you get 3x minus y, plus y, sorry, equal 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to decide this is going to be my equation 1, and this is going to be my equation 2. So let me see if they give you a mark for just writing this so far. How many marks is this question again? 3 marks?
3.
Again, that's not much mark. Okay.
It's 3.
You could do it that way. There's another way of doing it, but you could do it that way. Then what we do is we take 2, we can time it by, you can say, I'm going to time it by -3 or time it by 3, and then do the def between the two. It's up to you. So we can time it by 3 and keep the one above the same. Yeah, by timing it by 1. So we end up with 8x plus 3y equals 0. So the one at the top didn't change. And the one at the bottom, it becomes 3 times 3x, that's 9x, plus 3y equals 3. Yeah?
Yes.
So now what I'm going to do is to get rid of the 3y, I can do it in any way I want. I'm going to do, this is equation 3, and this is equation 4. I can do 4 take away 3. So 4 take away 3 gives me 3 take away 0, that'd be 3. 9x take away 8x is x. 3y take away 3y is 0, so x equals 3. So you've got a mark for this. Yeah?
Yep.
If you had done 3 take away 4, you would get minus x equal minus 3, and then you would need to divide by -1 both sides. But because I'm lazy and I would rather just deal with positive numbers to minimize again my number of mistakes, because we all do them, even me, I'm just going to flip that round and say I'm going to do 4 take away 3. I've got x equals 3. I'm going to substitute x equals 3 into this one, for example. Yeah. So y equal 1 minus 3x. You substitute x equals 3. That becomes 1 minus 3 times 3. So what is 3 times 3?
9.
So 1 minus 9, and that is equal to -8. And that would be your third mark. Okay.
Yep.
So one mark to decide which one you will. So to have a what we call a process. So showing that you've got a process gives you a mark. Then the other last 2 marks for x equal and y equal. Okay.
Yep.
And like I said, if you go to the paper in the middle, it would explain you. So sometimes they use a different way. So it's this paper here. The way they've done it, they've just replaced y with 1 minus 3x, and then they've expanded it and solve it. So you can subs, or you can do it the way we've done it. You still get the 3 marks. Okay.
Mhm.
And then you see all the questions coming after. How you get marks allocated, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on. All right. So I think that's us. Next time we'll see each other face to face.
You know,
A bit older than last time when it was 2020.
I've got a lot more grey
2020,
hairs, so
21.
also.
Yeah, no, I'm lucky on that side. I don't have much hair left, so
This will be the last online class this week
This is the last online
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
because we've got 13th,
true.
20th, and 27th all in person.
Right,
Correct.
Kirsty, I think you should say a few words just
Thanks, everyone.
whenever you're ready. Oh man, I'll be
Speech.
glad when it's done.